What's up guys, it's Ander or FBA Been Up back on the Lexington server, and today we're going to be doing a showcase on Peter Stracer, we'll call her Peter for this video, and her recommended gears. And one more thing, I don't have any of the new equipment from Operation Siren yet, so I won't be talking about them in this video, but anyways, let's get straight into the gear guide. On to some gear basics. Peter is a new super rare carrier for the Ironblood faction. She was obtainable during the recent event Inverted Orthanc, so hopefully you guys managed to get her during that time. Stat-wise, she has almost identical stats to Graf Zeppelin, tied with the second highest health out of all carriers, only beaten by Shinano, the same evasion, and the same 11th highest aviation stat. Moving on to her skills, Peter's first skill simply grants her an additional guaranteed torpedo bomber airstrike whenever she launches an airstrike. She launches a couple of additional converging torpedoes, which surprisingly deals a considerable extra amount of damage. Her second skill is quite interesting. It permanently decreases the speed of all enemies by 8%, and in addition, once every second there is a 10% chance to set the speed of all enemies to 0 for 3 seconds, similar to Formidable's ability. Although, this skill is a lot more unreliable than Formidable's because it just has a 10% chance of activating once per second, and you can't really time it like how Formidable can. So the third skill, finally, increases her own aviation by 5% for every additional Ironblood ship in the same fleet as her, with a max of 3 stacks. Also, if there are 4 more Ironblood ships in the same fleet as her, it reduces the time needed for your Ironblood carriers and light carriers to reload their first 3 airstrikes by 10%. Overall, Peter Stracer would work great in conjunction with the recently buffed Graf Zeppelin, and is a pretty solid carrier in general. She may not be on the very top with the other tier 0 carriers, but she still has very solid performance and very good stats, so you can't go wrong with leveling her up. Onto Peter's general gear loadout. First of all, let's take a look at her fighter plane. Unlike her sister Graf Zeppelin, whose skill encourages you to use Ironblood planes, Peter does not have any of this sort of skill, so she will instead follow the standard recommendations for a carrier. There are plenty of good options in this case. Overall, the best plane is going to be the F4U Corsair Pirate Squadron that you can buy from Core Data for 800 core points. It has a great skill, a great reload, and is overall the best pick. If you instead want more damage out of your fighter, but with a slightly slower reload, you could go with either the Sea Hornet or the Tiger Cat from the Gear Lab. From here, these next 4 fighters all have the same 2x500 pound bombs, so they have very similar performance. These 4 fighters, in no particular order, are going to be the F6F Hellcat right here, followed by the Kawanishi Shirenkai, the Reppu, as well as the Sea Fang. If you have none of those gold planes, the best budget plane in this case is going to be the purple F4U Corsair that you can find right here, dropped from 3-4. Onto the dive bomber slot. Unlike the fighters, the dive bombers are still very straightforward. You can just put on the purple SB2C Helldiver and call it a day. This is the go-to choice for almost every carrier in the game due to its fantastic damage, great bombs, and it also costs less to go and upgrade than its gold rarity counterparts, and most of the time even outperforms them. So overall, put on the SB2C Helldiver for the dive bomber slot, and you'll be good. Onto the torpedo bomber slot. Of course, if you have the Rainbow Wyvern from the Gear Lab, then of course that is your top choice, but if you're like the majority of the player base that does not have it yet, then consider these options instead. If you're using Peter for mob fleets, overall the best in slot for straight torpedo bombers is going to be the TBM Avenger. It has very high damage and a very useful skill that increases the damage against battleships and battlecruisers, as well as a chance to inflict flooding. This plane's stats and skills greatly outweigh the slightly slower reload time, so overall this is the best pick for mob fleets. For using Peter in a boss fleet, however, you would want to use a torpedo bomber with a converging torpedo, such as the Aichi B7A Ryusei, which has very solid damage, and the converging torpedoes will hit the boss a lot more than straight torpedoes. However, if you don't have either of these, a plane that you can't go wrong with is still going to be the Golden Barracuda. It's got a very fast reload, very solid damage, and as I said, you can't go wrong with it. If you don't have any gold planes, you can use the purple variant of the Barracuda. You can find this from the Royal Navy purple and gold boxes. Onto the auxiliary gear slot. Carriers don't really have too much diversity when it comes down to this slot, so for general purposes, the standard ideal loadout will still be running double gold steam catapults for that massive aviation boost that they provide. Some good steam catapult substitutes if you find yourself lacking in gold steam catapults include the purple homing beacon that you can find right down here. It provides a very nice decrease in airstrike loading time by 4%, a little less aviation, and you can find this in the core data shop for 500 core data. You can also use other things such as the aviation fuel that increases the speed of equipped aircraft and their HP by 140. You can also buy this for 500 core data in the core data shop. Finally, another substitute includes the purple aviation oil tank, which provides a very solid amount of aviation, and it also increases the HP of equipped aircraft by 120. You can also use the purple variant of the steam catapult, but keep in mind that the purple variant of the steam catapult is a complete downgrade to the purple aviation oil tank, so when it comes down to the two, when you find yourself between a purple steam catapult and a purple aviation oil tank, always use the purple aviation oil tank. This time around for the battle showcase, we'll be doing a run of 12-4 as I try and level up my Prince Heinrich for her gear guide that is coming very soon as well. Getting into the first battle real quick, we'll be seeing that this fleet consists of 4 Ironblood ships, which will grant Peter her maximum amount of her self buff, increasing her own aviation by 15% as she gets a 5% boost for every additional Ironblood ship in the same fleet as her, with a maximum of 3 stacks, and in addition, since there are 4 or more Ironblood ships in the same fleet as her, she gets a decrease in the loading time of her first 3 airstrikes by 10%. So you can see that she does have her airstrike a little bit faster than usual. That's very nice too. Overall, 12-4 might be a little bit hard for the Ironblood fleet because they do suffer in a little bit of anti-air, which is why I'm running Leipzig too. So there's the first battle, and the MVP goes to Odin. So here we go with the second battle. This time we'll be facing a level 2 mob fleet this time, so it shouldn't be too hard. There's the paralyzing advance, and as you can see, it does help a lot more than it hurts, because right there, Prince Heinrich actually was able to go and shoot that paralyzed opponent with her main gun that usually misses a bunch of the time, so that's very nice. And here we go, this is her airstrike. As you can see, there's a bunch of converging torpedoes there as well. Well, you might have not been able to see that, but there you go. And that is battle number 2. Let's see. And there you go, Peter got the MVP. So here's battle number 3 this time, and keep in mind that my paralyzing advance skill has not been maxed out yet, but overall it's not going to be too big of a difference. It just kind of raises the percentage chance of it proccing by a slight amount, so this should not really be too big of a deal. Anyway, back to Odin. Odin is very cool, and I'm very close to getting her to PR 30, and once I do, I'll definitely do a gear guide for her, because she is an amazing ship. Anyway, well, this is Peter Strasser's gear guide, so that is battle number 3, and there you go. So here's battle number 4 now, and of course tomorrow is of course the rerun for Imperial Tragicomedy, which is going to have Zara, Pola, Formidable, and Littorio coming back. So I'll probably be doing a review of that event very shortly as well. Hopefully I will be able to go and get those 2 new ships, being Pola and the purple ship. I forgot her name actually, whoops. But I will be able to go and review everybody pretty solidly. So that is battle number 4. So here's yet another battle. Yeah, there's a lot of battles to go and get to the 12-4 boss. Another paralyzing advance proc right there. So there you go. Prince Heinrich, as you can see, is very tanky, even though she is pretty under level compared to the other ships in this fleet. She is tanking all of those hits as the front vanguard very well. So there is Peter's proc again for her airstrike, and that cleanly just wipes out the rest of the enemies on the screen, and that is battle number 5. Solid. Here's battle number 6 now. I think you have to do like 8 mob fleet battles in order to actually summon the boss in 12-4, so this might take a little bit. Odin procs right there, you get a paralyzing advance, and there's Odin's main gun, Heinrich procs, and now Peter procs. Wipes the screen very nicely with her dive bombers as well as her other planes. And there is a bunch of enemies on the screen still. Hopefully they don't take too much damage from those aircrafts. There's a nice little thunder proc from Odin. And here's another main gun from her. This should be able to go and wipe out the rest of them. And there you go. It's battle number 6. So, I lied. We actually did not need that many battles to go and get to the boss battle. We actually only needed 6. So here we go. We're at the boss battle now for 12-4. I've got Amagi, Shinano, and Ryuho with Azuma in the front. Ryuho is keeping everyone alive. I still need to get Shinano to level 120, so that's why she's flagship. And there we go. Hopefully we'll just be able to go and steamroll through this really quickly. Might take a little longer because the boss Chokai and Maya, they do have a lot of health, so it might take a little while to go and whittle all them down. But with these ships in the back, they should be pretty well. Of course, Azuma is a very, very tanky vanguard, so she will have no problem living through everything that the bosses throw at her. Liki gets a very nice proc once more with her barrage. Shinano is going to go in with her converging torpedoes and miss most of them, which is kind of sad, but things happen. And it looks like 1 or 2 more rounds of this, and this should be game over for the bosses. Maya looks a little bit almost dead. There's another proc. This time the converging torpedoes actually all hit. So here you go. Almost just 10 more. 8. And Amaki's salvo should finish things out. Right here. Nice. So that was the run of 12-4, and that will conclude my gear guide for Peter Strasser. With that battle showcase finished, that will conclude my gear guide for Peter Strasser. As always, if you found this information helpful, consider dropping a like and subscribing. Don't forget to press the notification bell for my future uploads as well. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions that need to be answered, and I'll try my best to reply. If you're interested, you can always join my Discord server in the description below if you need any advice or if you want a place to relax. That'll be all for this video, so I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!